Welcome to the Danny Clinkscale Reasonably Irreverent podcast. Insightful and witty commentary, probing interviews, and detours from the beaten path.
Welcome again, and certainly these hot summer days lend themselves to a nice thirsty Thursday. And Joe and I are thirsty on this Thursday, that's for sure.
Yes, sir.
He's got the Taste of Summer, the Leinenkugel Summer Shandy, which actually he has about 7 versions of the Taste of Summer. I get confused, but that's one of them anyway. Meanwhile, I have a hippy-dippy Elysian Dayglow IPA. I don't quite understand what's going on here because Dayglow I get, that's the kind of tie-dye-ish T-shirt function that, you know, that whatever that was back in the day, in the 60s. But then there's a big lion on there, which is the Elysian logo, and I have had Elysian before, although not this particular brand, and then there's some kind of thing coming out of his eye. So there's clearly a psychedelic overtones to this.
I think that's a tiger with laser eyes, dude.
Maybe that's it. You aren't supposed to appear on the first portion of this podcast. Shut up.
I'm here.
It's Joe's here. Danny's here. We certainly have a variety of things to talk about, including Joe's rather over-the-top reaction to Patrick Mahomes signing. And I'm talking not everybody was really excited, but certainly not as much as Joe. But that's just one of the things we'll talk about today. Apparently he has an extensive fact check. And if you're not familiar with the fact check, it really is the most wildly popular aspect of this particular Sense and Nonsense podcast, because we just sort of revisit some of the, shit we threw out the last time around and see if it's accurate, because we're opinionated cusses, and maybe we're right, maybe we're wrong. We're right most of the time, but that doesn't mean we're above making a mistake or two. So let's see where we're at. And it all starts off with the fact check coming up next. There you go. Mine's already open. Joe did vacuumed his first one. So there's number 2. And it's all part of Thirsty Thursday, Sense and Nonsense, and it's straight ahead.
My friends at Advanced Sports and Family Chiropractic and Acupuncture are among the most accomplished and trusted clinics in the nation. Only one clinic has been rated in the top 5 in all 3 categories of chiropractic care, acupuncture, and rehabilitation, and that clinic is ASFCA. They have locations in Olathe, Overland Park, Prairie Village, Belton, and Lee Summit. Doctors Brad and Christina Woodle and their accomplished team of doctors and therapists will treat you like family, for the simplest of injuries to the most complicated conditions to avoid surgery. Whether you are seeking treatment for an injury or just looking to stay healthy and fit, this is the place for you. And it's been the place for me for almost 2 years now. I've been a strenuous daily exerciser for years, and as time goes on, that takes its toll. But regular appointments at Advanced Sports and Family Chiropractic and Acupuncture have helped keep me ticking on, and even as the years pile up, their regular care has allowed me to keep to my regimen and feel great. If you want to feel the same, give them a call or visit them at asfca.com/Danny. They accept all insurances and are open Monday through Saturday, and make sure to mention that Danny Clinkscale recommended Advanced Sports and Family Chiropractic and Acupuncture.
I'm here with Tim Emerson, the owner of Emerson & Company. And Tim, give us an idea of the range of services that you provide from Emerson & Company.
At Emerson & Company, we do credit card processing, payroll services. We do bookkeeping, merchant accounts like point-of-sale systems.
What would you say differentiates you from other companies in the field, and what makes you special?
I think what makes us unique is that we're a small local business making regional decisions on companies. We create a profile for the business and then put it out to our different vendors in a very competitive environment and tailor those needs to the specific business, which usually ends up in a great fit or great result for the company.
And, of course, the idea is to save money, right?
Save money, and actually sometimes I'm surprised where actually a solution that may cost a little bit more ultimately does save money, but we're not conditioned to think like that sometimes.
Emerson & Company. Check them out at emerson-co.com or call them at 816-360-9092.
If you'd like to join these and other great sponsors and market your business to a growing and engaged audience, contact us at danny@dannyclinkscale.com. Look forward to hearing from you.
All right, it's Joe. We're back with the fact check. Danny, that was my second one. You know, it's very hot outside.
It is. And usually if I play, I don't play I don't drink beer when I play golf. I once upon a time was a serious golfer, played in tournaments, etc. Just got into that habit. Also, I can consume a beer or 8, so I start when I'm playing. There's plenty of time afterwards. Game's hard enough, and especially back in the day, I mean, I was playing some serious golf sometimes, so you don't want to have any particular non-edge. But if I play a round of golf on a hot summer day, I'll just walk up afterwards and just order 2 right off the bat, because the first one is just not going to last very long.
I work outside. It's hot. Yeah, first one goes easy.
All right, Danny.
But it also is like the greatest.
Oh, are you
the
kidding
greatest
me?
one.
Absolutely.
Have you ever done that thing where the first one you want it, it's so bad and it tastes so good and it's so cold, you overdrink that first sip and it gets stuck? Have you ever done that? You almost have to gag.
Air bubble.
Right. You throw down 2/3 of a beer on the first swallow, and it's just you got to ease into it.
Yeah, you got to ease into that burp, or it's
right.
all.
Oh yeah, it's bad news. Can be bad news.
Bad news. Anyway, now that we've established our love for the first beer,
yep,
it's fact check.
Apparently,
time.
the second beer too.
So we talked about your memory and you're bragging about your memory, and I brought up this 60 Minutes segment that I saw one time.
Right, you sent it to me. Yeah,
it's interesting, right?
Interesting, very interesting.
So they call
I'm not in that category.
They call it super autobiographical memory. Okay, and so these people can remember. You can ask them, what was the weather like on December 22nd, 1994, and they'll be like, oh, I was wearing a red sweater and it was raining outside, and this person won, the game I was watching or whatever. And I remember there was a famous person. I couldn't remember her name. It's Mary Lou Henner.
Oh, really? Yeah, I remember that. I remember that she was a genius. I knew that.
So she's from Taxi, right?
Right. Yes. Very, very attractive lady.
So I guess she can remember every second from like 11 years old on.
That sounds like. I mean, I enjoy the level of memory I have, which is pretty distinct and high. But I think that would be terrorizing.
Yeah, I carry this notebook everywhere I go because I can't remember anything. I remember in junior high, I was at camp, and everybody would get a girlfriend at camp.
Sure.
And it's like day 4, we're walking down the path or whatever, and I lean over to my buddy, and I'm like, what's her name again? It's day 4, I got a terrible memory.
Yeah, that camp, that was fun for a shy guy.
Yep.
Around the girls, because everybody's there. You got to have a girlfriend by the end of the week at least. I mean, there's some kind of a idiot formal dance by the end.
Absolutely.
But I went to, this is the only thing I liked about, I've talked about my rather disdainful attitude towards things theological. But so I was really forced by my parents to go to born again camp, Bible camp. But the thing that was great about it, and I don't know if you experienced this, is that I wasn't a believer, so I was a really nice guy, and I didn't do anything wrong. I was kind of a super nice person, but you didn't have to do anything to be Jesse James at a Christian camp. To be a bad boy, and because I could I could be a bad boy like at my high school or something. Everybody knew that I was just a nice guy, and I made I was smart and whatever. But at camp, all I had to do was carry my basketball around with me all the time, not sing the hymns.
Turn your hat around backwards. You are edgy.
Well, there was no turning your hat around backwards when I was back in that day. But anyway, so I was like the bad boy of Christian camp, so that was kind of cool.
I enjoyed it because it was like a reset. I grew up in a very tiny town, and you were what you were from 4 years old on, or whatever.
Right.
You go to church camp, reset, right? Like nobody knows what you are. Okay, so we talked about Timo Werner, and you had said it correctly. You asked me if you said it right, and you had.
I did.
So ding, ding, ding. There you go. You talked a little bit about. We talked a little bit about European soccer, and I'm going to bore everybody with this. So you talked about Lewandowski and scoring a goal a game. Mm-hmm. In 31 Bundesliga appearances, he scored 34 goals.
That's pretty amazing. Pretty amazing.
Werner, who's headed for the EPL, in 34 matches, scored 28 goals. And my boy, Erling Haaland for Dortmund, in only 16 matches, scored 13 goals. So he's 19.
Tell you what, America's boy Christian Pulisic is getting it rolling at Chelsea.
That's going to be my team. I've decided.
Well, Timo, they got a lot of good young players, so Timo's, he's going to have to fight for. There's going to be competition there.
I decided.
They got Mason Mount. He's really good, and
I'm picking an EPL team. I'm going Chelsea. So.
Well, then we are bitter rivals.
Oh, what are you?
I'm an Arsenal man. Yes,
okay.
I'm an Arsenal, and we are starting to get a little something going. Like you said, we'll move on quickly for you non-soccer folks, because we got to talk about Pat Mahomes. But there's a sort of a changing of the guard at my squad. And my favorite player is like one of the highest paid soccer players in the world, Mesut Ozil. And he's just not playing.
Ozil, yeah.
And he's not playing.
Isn't the Egyptian guy on Arsenal?
No, he's on Liverpool.
Oh, that's Liverpool.
Mo Salah. Well, he's awesome. He's one of those guys that when you're watching somebody play a sport in their uniform, you're like, that guy might be carrying a few pounds around.
Yeah.
And so that's what he kind of looks like. Because Mo...
A little chunky.
Yeah, he looks that way. Well, a game earlier this season, he scores a spectacular goal, and he rips his shirt off.
Tell me about it, Danny.
Not an ounce of this guy is ripped up. So I'm like, well, wrong about that one.
Yeah, he's just he is good. So. You talked a whole bunch of crap on the plaques at the Hall of Fame.
Well, that's
the baseball Hall of Fame.
I'm not backing off on that one.
So they are done by the Matthews Architecture Products from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania.
Oh, so they're not putting someone's name on it.
So they named different people, right? And they just named a new guy, and they've had it forever, and they've named a bunch of different people. And I looked up the business, and they have 1 5-star review.
That sounds about right to me. That would sound about right to me.
I was wondering what your review on Google would be for the plaques for the Matthews Architecture Products Group.
Maybe just to be nice because it's the Baseball Hall of Fame, and I have great affection for the Baseball Hall of Fame, but I wouldn't go above 2.5. No huevo. They do have a bit of a problem in the fact that they're flat.
Yeah.
So there's not a lot. They don't have room for a lot of 3D.
Well,
they just barely come out. They maybe come out. No, I'm not. I'm just trying to throw them a little slack here, but no way over 2.5 stars. No way.
Shepherd's pie. Okay.
Yeah.
This came up because you brought up your family's tradition of gotta go. Is that what you call it?
Musco,
right?
Musco.
For all the food. And when I grew up, that was getting rid of all the food out of the refrigerator was referred to as shepherd's pie.
But that's not really what shepherd's pie is.
No, so shepherd's pie is casserole. So
yes,
obviously I'm not going to like it.
Well, a flaky casserole can be all right. Tasty.
So it's made with lamb and veggies and onions with mashed potatoes on the top.
Right.
Okay. Now,
we're real healthy food.
Yeah. Shepherd's pie started out as cottage pie. Okay, and this was a way for them to trick the Irish into eating more potatoes. Okay.
What?
So when potatoes were introduced as an edible food,
the people didn't like it?
Yeah, and so they had to come up with ways to try to get people to eat potatoes.
Wow.
So they were like, take your leftover meat, and they referred to it as cottage pie because, the plebeians would live in cottages or whatever,
Right.
The people working the fields or whatever. And so they said, take your leftover meat, your leftover vegetables, throw it all together, put some mashed potatoes around it, have yourself a calorically rich meal.
When does this start? Because the mashing, you can see the resistance initially. If you're growing potatoes and you say, hey, this is a good crop, we can grow it in our crappy soil. Yep. But a raw potato out of the ground doesn't have a heck of a lot of appeal. Even a carrot has some nice, good flavor. But a potato, not so much.
Well, it said that cottage...
But amazingly, it's turned into like the world's most versatile food.
Yes. Well, carrots?
No, potatoes.
Oh.
You can mash them, French fries, on and on. It's become just an incredible staple of everybody's...
The most versatile food in the world is a potato.
Maybe the most versatile popular food. It's become a staple of fast food.
Bread,
you can
maybe?
mash it. Well, I'll go with that. Yeah, but bread, what can you do with it? You can enjoy it. You can toast it.
You can fry it. Fried dough. You're from Massachusetts. You should.
Yeah, but you don't fry the bread.
Well,
you
but
fry
it's-
the dough.
it's bread.
You want to say dough is the most versatile?
Okay, dough. Is
There we go. I'll buy that. Once it's bread, it's not that.
Once it's bread.
Once it's bread,
Screw you, bread.
it's not that versatile. I mean, you make stuffing or you make sandwiches. What do you do?
Fantastic. Anyway, so shepherd's pie has its own Wikipedia page, so thank you. Wikipedia,
Nice.
for that.
I think everybody has their own, except me.
Okay, then the last couple of things are on Vegemite here. So I looked up. Neither of us could read the nutritional value of the Vegemite.
No.
So I looked it up. It's a good source of protein and a whole bunch of B vitamins. So
Well, there you go.
There you go.
It's sitting in my cupboard now because you didn't want it, and I can't say that in the 2 ensuing weeks that I have sampled any more Vegemite. And in
So-
fact, this might go to the homeless or something.
okay, so you didn't eat anymore.
No, I mean it wasn't that. I mean it wasn't like it was palatable.
Well, you
but-
talked a big game.
No, I said it was acceptable. I didn't say you were about to get sick.
I was. It was awful. So I looked up what a Vegemite sandwich is. So it's Vegemite, cheese, and tomato.
Well, that sounds like it might be all right. Because if you just use it in a light little spread, in which case it would last for about a year,
Yeah.
then that sounds like it. Because it's a little bit salty, got a kind of a plum-ish taste.
Ugh. So anyway, I looked up some great Amazon reviews on Vegemite.
Well, I'm sure.
So just do yourself a favor and go read the 1-star reviews of Vegemite on Amazon.
I'm sure it's a hoot.
It's pretty good. And the last thing on the Vegemite is I've never told you this about me.
Wow. And we've
Okay.
had so many deep, dark
Absolutely.
conversations. In the
Yes,
short
indeed.
time we've been such close friends.
Do you know what misophonia is?
Misophonia.
Mhm.
Spelled which way?
MISOPHONIA.
No, not off the top of my head. If I saw it in context, perhaps I would.
So this is what and it's a real thing.
Okay.
And when I did my 23andMe genetic test, it said that I had it. So this is a real thing.
Right.
I cannot stand to hear people chewing.
Really? And that's a thing.
It's a real thing.
Wasn't that on Seinfeld?
There might have been. I
I
don't
think
know.
there was a Seinfeld about
I
that.
can't even sit at the table while my kid eats cereal because it's like, nails on a chalkboard
Oh, yeah.
times 10 if I hear
Times
somebody
10,
chewing.
'cause nails
Oh,
on
yeah.
a chalkboard is bad.
Oh, no, Danny, maybe it's not times 10, but it is, I can handle nails on a chalkboard. Hearing somebody chew, like somebody chew ice. So anyway, on the episode, you did a whole bunch of chewing into that microphone over there.
Really?
I just about lost my mind having to listen
I was
to it.
chewing?
Fact check. Oh, there was a whole bunch of.
Oh, yeah, because I was eating the Vegemite. God, I thought I was just sitting here drinking beer, going like I was chewing tobacco or something. So what? How about What do you do when you're eating? Because inside your own head, you can really hear yourself chew quite audibly.
That's a fantastic question. Doesn't bother me.
Doesn't bother you a bit. Just somebody else.
Just somebody else. And I will purposely, for business meetings and stuff, if they have to be over a meal, I'll purposely pick somewhere where it's going to be noisy.
Right?
Or where I know there's going to be a bigger table. Or I'll purposely be like, oh, you know what? You should get the soup.
Wow.
It's great.
Well, apparently this is selective because right behind us, your dog is chomping on a bone quite noisily, which I don't think people can really hear it. I don't know if the mic's picking up on that, but it's to us.
Oh, yeah,
And it's also kind of grindy and it's a little unpleasant.
Doesn't bother me.
This doesn't bother you.
No,
Just
I think it's-
human beings?
It's only human beings. And I think it's some sort of a mixture of the saliva and the smacking of the lips and the Danny, it just
Well,
it's
noisy
awful.
eaters. I'm not. It's not a phobia of mine, but I don't like it,
Oh,
and I'm sensitive to not
Mine's
being
like
that
you.
person.
Oh, Danny. Ugh. Anyway, speaking of,
By the way, there's also, and I forget the name of the word, but there's actually a word for the thing that causes many women to have trouble playing golf, because if you watch women play golf when they start, they often top the ball or hit the ball thin.
okay,
And the reason for this is because they are afraid to harm the grass, to take a divot, which you do. And there's a word for that.
Really?
The fear of marring the ground or something.
I'll look that up.
I can't remember. Yeah, that's a good fact check because I'll even say that to a beginning woman, or if say my wife just returned to golf before she broke her freaking ankle, but and I'll see her kind of doing that, topping it, and I'm like, you're just afraid to get down there and dig, you know. But when I played, I've gone through. When you grow up in the East, it's bent grass, so you have to take.
Explain that. You
have to take. Well, it's just a strain of grass. Out here, we generally play golf on zoysia.
Yeah, I know that.
Which is a strong strain of grass. And you can actually be a picker. You can really hit your iron shots without taking a divot, and that can be a very effective way to play. Well, and bent grass, it generally the whole fairway softer. You're almost compelled to take a divot, and you can take some big-ass divots, like beaver pelts. Especially if it's a little soft, and you can still hit a quality golf shot doing it. So the adjustment, that's why when you hear golfers talking about changing from, this guy plays better down in Florida because he knows the Bermuda and the zoysia. The zoysia actually is it's really not a a strain of grass that's meant for outstanding golfers. In fact, because it does encourage picking, and it's a very strong. So generally, Bermuda and bent grass are the two best surfaces for really good golfers.
What is it in Arizona? I played in Arizona a couple times.
I think that's Bermuda.
Okay.
Because it's a hardy strain of grass.
I mean, you just take it because it's sand underneath it, and you just take it all when you hit it fat. It's gone.
Right. I'm not positive. Well, when it's real in places where it's hot and not hot. Mm-hmm. Not in the Midwest. In the Midwest, we usually use zoysia because it's a very hardy grass. But in some other places, they will have two different kinds of grasses. They'll use Bermuda, and then they'll overseed it. Like at the Masters this year, in the fall, they will be playing overseeded Bermuda, I believe. So I made that. That's another fact check right there. I'm not an agronomist, but I've followed a lot of golf. They'll overseed so that that it will survive. Like Augusta, that course is closed in the summer.
Just because it's too hot?
Yeah.
Mm. So what's it cost to play there? And you're closed all summer?
I think it's like a restaurant where you don't have the prices on the menu.
You got to ask. You can't afford
I don't think it costs anything. I think you just have to have a member bring you. I don't think there's a green fee. It's not like Pebble Beach. Pebble Beach, you can just go.
So you're going to go be a member there, and they're going to close the damn thing down all summer long?
Right.
I mean,
yeah, it's too hot for the grass that they use there.
Look, I was going to say, speaking of food, 5 minutes ago before we went off on this tangent.
And obviously, we're going to start with Pat Mahomes. It's going to start segment 2. So let's, because now we're way down the road as we usually are in these things. So what were you going to say? Speaking about food.
Speaking of food, well, I was going to bring up Big Daddy Patty.
Well, Big Daddy Patty's going to open the second segment. You want to do that now, or?
I don't know. What do you think?
I think we should.
I
think Big Daddy Patty or Patty Icicles.
Icicles.
And soon you'll have another horrible image in your mind about Patrick Mahomes. And that's coming your way next, right here on Thirsty Thursdays, Sense and Nonsense. And if you don't think that's the proper title, you certainly haven't listened.
More of Danny's Reasonably Irreverent podcast after this.
We're visiting with Larry Marshall, former Chiefs defensive back and punt returner, and now a Chiefs ambassador. Larry is a former pro football player with the aches and pains that come with that, and moving on in age as we all are. What do the Canaway CBD products do for you?
It's been a great relief for me. Being a punt and kickoff returner, collisions were a mainstay of my career, and these Canaway products, the salve especially, has really helped me try to get through every day with the aches and pains that I've had over a career of 7+ years in the NFL.
I get similar benefits as well, particularly with my back. Certainly wasn't a football player. What's the best way for our listeners to get more information about the great products themselves?
Well, I'm so enthused about it, Dan. If they just contact me at larrymarshall.canaway.com, and I can give them all the information they need to help them get through the day as well.
Start gaining all the benefits that Larry and I do from the trusted and reliable line of Canaway products. As Larry said, visit larrymarshall.canaway.com and get information on all the great products from Canaway. Cinematic Visions has been an affordable solution for professional media production in Kansas City since 2003, offering award-winning video production and creation, as well as a wide array of digital and social media management services. From planning, scripting, filming, editing, and post-production, to delivering your product to a watching world, Cinematic Visions will provide professional and affordable services for you and your business with the necessary return on investment to make it all worthwhile. Cinematic Vision's goal is to unlock the power of storytelling through video and a strong online presence for your company. Beyond the numbers, they want to inspire and evoke your clients to feel and act. Let my friends at Cinematic Visions embed your brand where it belongs, in your customers' minds. You can find them online at cinematicvisions.com or with a quick phone call at 816-600-6300. If you'd like to join these and other great sponsors and market your business to a growing and engaged audience, contact us at danny@dannyclinkscale.com. Look forward to hearing from you. Welcome back to Thirsty Thursday, Sense and Nonsense. The Elysian is about to be dead, and the Kansas City Beer Company, their fine Bavarian-style Golden Lager, is next for me. And a warning, if you are in your car or if you are on your deck, and this is at least a PG-rated start of this segment. So anyway.
You got to save it for the end.
No.
Reaction.
No. We're just starting out. This'll get this segment off to a bang, as it were.
Myself a chance to explain myself here.
Well, I will. Okay. I will. So, as you might have heard, Patrick Mahomes signed a rather large contract extension the other day, and so Joe texts me in about 2:30 in the afternoon, whatever it broke. Yeah. Is that about right? Maybe a little bit earlier. And so what I thought was he was giving me a heads up that my Monday Musings podcast did not include Patty's signing. Well, I had already adjusted on the fly and had done a segment about that and inserted it into the podcast. So I literally almost just texted back and said, I took care of it, whatever. So I just said, what's up? And he texts back and says, Patty signs or whatever.
Patty icicles.
Yeah, and so then he said, what do you think? Or something like that. And I said, I think it's great, but I think the reaction is a little over the top here. I said, it's like the headline, what I said the other day when I was on with the Border Patrol, is like it's like a reaction headline, sun rises, millions rejoice. Because this was expected.
Well, let's be specific here.
Yes.
You said something to the effect of, we could just look at our phones, but something to the effect of, I don't understand why everybody's so happy about something that they knew was going to happen.
Right, yeah, something like that.
Okay.
Yeah, that sounds more like, because on a text you're not going to, get that elaborate. Or at least I'm not. I don't like using voice text because then you have to fix it all the time. Like some of the voice texts I get from my wife are just hysterical. I mean, hysterical. I can't believe she uses voice text for her business, because it could just really. I think she checks her business voice text much more closely than she texts the ones to me, because she doesn't care. So
leave it to Danny to be like, how dare my phone create something convenient for me?
yeah, it's convenient unless it says, you're a boob instead of boo to you, or whatever,
You're a boob. What is the sentence you're trying to say? You're a dude?
I don't know. It's that whatever thing that voice texting can screw up. So anyway, that's what I text back to Joe, to which he responds, so just because you're going to have an orgasm, you're not going to enjoy it? I think
that's pretty close.
That's not a direct quote, but it's close. It's close enough. And First of all,
logic follows.
Yeah. First of all, I'm like,
Well, you're comparing this signing to an orgasm. This kind of reminds me of a story I heard recently where back in the day, Sid Gilman, the famous San Diego Chargers general manager, really iconic, important figure in the development of offensive football, was watching film with Bum Phillips, the famous Houston Oilers coach. And at one point, Sid, this sounds like Andy Reid a little bit, said, "You know what, Bum? I think I like watching film about as much as I like making love." And Bum turns and probably used some saltier language, but said, "Well, Sid, either I don't know how to watch film or you don't know how to make love." So what I'm going to say is that if this signing of Patrick Mahomes was orgasmic, I feel pain for you.
Okay, first of all, I let you get through that, okay? I let your long-winded ass get through that, all right? I'm over here biting my lip. First of all, I'm not going to apologize for it being orgasmic, first of all. Secondly, that's not the point of the analogy, Danny.
What is the point, Joe?
The point of the analogy is you can still be elated over something that you knew was going to happen when it happens.
I mean, kind of like your wedding day?
Yeah, I guess. I mean,
or your wedding night? Maybe a better analogy in this particular case?
I think my analogy was perfect.
Well, I don't know.
You know what's coming.
Right? So to speak.
I did not mean to do that.
I know you didn't.
I did not mean to do that.
I know you didn't.
Okay. You know what's going to happen.
I like the second way you put it.
And somehow it's still enjoyable, Danny. So
well, I'll say this. In breaking down the reaction, first of all, in these uncertain, perilous, unprecedented, whatever the jackass word we keep using about the virus, people need things to be happy about. Hell, I wrote a blog yesterday for my Arts and Lifestyles Wednesday, presented by Cinematic Visions. Hopeless plug there. and a lot of times we'll do music conversation with Tim Finn. Sometimes I do my reconcilable differences for my wife. She was extra busy this week, so I did a blog. And it was just a blog about guilty pleasure songs through the years that I've liked. Songs that you're kind of just, you really might almost be embarrassed that you like them.
I've got a whole
so anyway, enjoy that. You can go back. There's links to the songs. You do have to copy and paste, but, I'll try to master something a little easier for you in the future. But anyway, so it was a top 10 list of those songs. I'm not saying I could have done 100, but that was just because it was a little smile. It's a little smile. We could use a little smiles or big smiles. But if I'm going to break it down, I think the fact, and I don't think this really elevates it in any way in real terms, but the fact that it was a 10-year extension on top of 2 years still on the contract made people extra happy. Didn't really matter if he signed for 5 more years, 5 years down the road, or 3 years down the road, he was going to sign another extension.
It doesn't matter, Danny. You have to understand, okay. All right, so I'm 38 years old, okay? One of my earliest memories is watching a Chiefs game, all right? I have watched this franchise shit away opportunity after opportunity after opportunity my entire life. I had to watch them pick Gerback instead of Gannon. I watched Brody Croyle. I had to sit,
which, by the way, on another episode we can break down.
I had to, well, maybe whatever. It wouldn't have mattered, probably.
No, probably neither one.
GD point. So here's the deal, okay? I called into when you did post game, Alex Smith last year as a full-time starter. I called in every week the first 5 weeks, and the Chiefs were murdering people. And I said to you every single time, can you imagine how many points they would have won by if Patrick Mahomes just would have been in the game? Okay, so first of all,
you were right.
I really like being right. Okay,
well, and you were right.
And so that's the first thing with this that makes me so happy.
And I'm sure I was not kind to you because Alex Smith was playing his ass off at that point.
I know, it was great. And then, yeah, it was fun. We had some good back and forth. I wish we had known each other then. That would have been hilarious. But,
well, no, it would have been less hilarious because we would have known each other.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And, after a Chiefs game where I had to suffer through watching Alex Smith fart around on the field. I had a couple. So anyway, I had to sit through Alex Smith. I had to sit through just suffering and misery and knowing we're never going to get there. And the Chiefs screwing it up and screwing it up and screwing it up at the quarterback position, never drafting anybody. And then they finally draft somebody, right? And they actually get it right. And then
they get it really right. They get it really right.
As a Chiefs fan, as a Kansas Cityan, with the chip that we have on our shoulder that nobody ever picks us, right? He has come down from the mount, okay?
Wow. Orgasmic Jesus.
He has come down from, I believe that would be, is that Jesus or is that Moses? I don't know.
Well, yeah,
He's
right, that's
come
true.
down from the mount, okay?
Right. And it would be Moses.
And
even I know that
and has
from summer camp.
Has chosen Kansas City for 12 freaking years. And so I agree that logically it shouldn't matter. If it's a 5-year deal, they're still going to. But as a Chiefs fan, it's like they're going to find a way to screw this up. Now, you don't have to worry about it. In 12 years, I'm going to be 50 years old, Danny. I'm going to be like 30 years younger than you are now in 12 years.
You're going to be like same age as me.
You wish. I'm going to be 50 years old, and his ass is still going to be playing quarterback for the Kansas City Chiefs. And that is, for a Kansas Cityan that gets crapped on nationally all the time, it is just like we got picked. It's like
the only thing I think that was absolutely perfectly put. The only thing I'll disagree with is the last part. There's no crapping on Kansas City as far as the National Football League is concerned.
Oh, not NFL.
The thing I'll say subsequently, if I had been able to know the reaction I was going to see nationally after this particular contract was signed, I might not have even texted what I texted. I mean, to me, this morning, it's like Wednesday, okay? This thing happened 2 days ago, and it's really not that seismic a thing. It's not even really going to affect the quarterback market. You know what GMs are going to say? You're not Patrick Mahomes. You're not Patrick Mahomes. But it's the lead on Get Up. And it's what we're still talking about today is Patrick Mahomes.
It's the biggest contract in North America.
Right. Which is, it's great. I watched the late Golick and Wingo, who now have been fired.
Really? I didn't
they're out. But on Tuesday,
Golick is currently talking to the wall in his basement. Nobody's told him.
But his son's being retained.
Oh no!
For a different show. Anyway, they're just sitting there and they're giddy. They're not Chiefs fans.
Yeah,
they're not.
Well,
they're just
news.
They're just about. Media, but no, they're literally giddy. They're happy. They're happy for not just for Patrick Mahomes. They're just kind of happy.
Yeah.
And I guess the funny thing is that the news that should have made, but wasn't going to make Chiefs fans the happiest would have been Patrick Mahomes signs 10-year, $22 million extension. That would have been something that
talk about something that's never going to happen.
I mean, even 22 per.
Yeah. Well, but here's the thing. Here's the thing. You talk about in the NFL's eyes, there's no looking down at the Kansas City Chiefs. I'm not talking about in the NFL. I'm talking about in general, right? So, like,
yeah, the NFL is a truly
league.
Democratic thing as far as sports is concerned. You're good, you get the attention. It doesn't matter if you're in Green Bay or Carolina or Jacksonville, if they were ever good, but they were a couple of years ago.
The NFL is socialism. They spread it out to everybody, right? That's what a salary cap is. Like, they're just...
Right, it is socialist, but what I'm saying is democratic. I mean, there's no picking and choosing of, like the Sunday night baseball schedule came out the other day. Mm-hmm. Guess who's on the first Sunday night baseball game? Take a guess. The Yankees and the Red Sox.
Yeah.
Now, shocker. And then the second time it's Cubs and the Cardinals. Yeah, so I get it. But if in the NFL you are good, it doesn't matter. Big market, small market, whatever.
But I've got buddies that are like Patriots fans I have to listen to. And my story, I always talk about why Kansas Cityans have a chip on their shoulder. My wife works for a company out of Silicon Valley. It's like a tech company, right? So she'll have to go out there sometimes. And she had one of her colleagues tell her one time when her colleague found out that we had kids and we were still in our late 20s or early 30s. Oh, well, people in the Midwest, they They have kids younger because there's nothing to do.
That's not nice.
And then they'll be like, well, we live in California because we have mountains a mile or an hour away, and we have a beach less than an hour away. And you'll say, well, how many days did you go to the mountains last year? And they'll be like, oh, 3. How many days did you go to the beach last year? Oh, 5. Oh, well, I spent 12 days on a beach and 5 in a mountain. You know what I mean?
Right.
Because I can afford to because I live in Kansas City, you dumbass. Anyway, my point is, you go around the country, and we're looked down on so much. To be able to have Patty Icicles pick, undoubtedly choose, this is where I'm going to spend my career, is a giant exhale for Chiefs fans like me.
Well, I don't even think I don't think it should be an
happen.
exhale. I don't think it should be an exhale. I think it is cause for celebration. I will say that. But there was a certain I was genuinely surprised at the level of excitement. It was like usually you have this level of excitement when there's some angst involved. That's why the Chiefs playoff run was so good, because in each game you were in trouble. I mean, each one. I mean, they so easily could have lost.
Never worried.
You're a liar. You're an absolute liar.
Listen,
you can say
check my Twitter feed.
You can say
at
that
Patty Icicles. Go check it.
You can say that you thought there was still a chance, but if you're telling me you had no issues when it was 24,
Texans game, no issue.
24 dick.
Well, speaking of dicks, Patrick Mahomes was on the sideline, ready to swing it around and take us back to the promised land. Here's the deal. I'm so happy, Danny. I've been in a good mood all day.
Oh, I think Kansas City. I think Kansas City has been in a good mood all week. In fact, that was really part of the inspiration for the blog I wrote. I said, I just am going to continue this kind of goofy, silly feeling that we have here in Kansas City, because everybody needs some goofy and silly in their lives right now, because there's not nearly enough of it.
Give me one or two of these songs.
Oh, most of them are old, but I will do
something I'd know.
I'll do a couple of the recent ones, and some of them are really good songs. So, well, this is the lamest song on the list. 1, 2, 3, 4 by Feist.
From the Apple commercial.
Yes.
Remember, that was the first one of those commercials.
Right, but that was a hit song, so so I love that song. Actually, it's just kind of a catchy...
I don't think you have to be ashamed of that. That's really the lamest song on your list?
Oh, yeah, it's definitely the lamest.
There's no Nickelback in there. There's
okay, I'll give you one that if you I'm sure you remember, because they still play this song all the time. This is a song that is either you like it and you think it is really a finely crafted piece of music because it was produced by Alan Parsons of the Alan Parsons Project, is You're the Cat by Al Stewart. You know the song You're the Cat?
No.
Well, just look it up. You'll fact check that one. It was a huge hit, and it's still played a lot. Anyway, but Al Stewart has kind of a very fey voice, and it's a soft, tender song in many ways. But most of it, it's like there's movie references in it. There's a lot of great music in it. It's a 6.5-minute song, and 4.5 minutes are instrumental. So there's one. But I'll give you this one. I think you'll know, because did you ever see the REM Unplugged on MTV?
Of course I did. Yeah, I grew up in the era of Unplugged, and REM getting that 5-year or that 5-album deal that they were supposed to be the biggest thing.
Right. Well, do you remember from the special, Mike Mills took the lead on the song Love Is All Around.
Are you a big REM fan?
I do love REM, yes.
Really?
Yeah, I'm a big REM fan.
That's surprising.
So anyway, do you know the song Love Is All Around?
I do.
Right. Well, that's
one of them?
That's one of them. But the original by the Troggs from 1967 is one of my favorite songs ever. So that is number 2 on the list.
Jeez, you do not like embarrassing enough music, you know?
Yeah, no, there's some embarrassing. You know who Quarter Flash is?
How about this is what is that Nickelback song? This is how it reminds me, or whatever. Their first.
Well, actually, I did actually kind of like that song.
Oh man, dude, I was putting in-ground sprinklers at the time in Hutchinson, Kansas.
Right.
If that song came on, I was running the crew. If that song came on and we pulled up to the job site, everybody sat in the van until the song was over, because it was so meaningful to us.
There's a funny there's a funny story about, when I was doing the research about Love Is All Around, the band Wet, Wet, Wet did a version of it for 4 Weddings and a Funeral. Do you know
Speaking of Patrick Mahomes' contract.
Right. Do you know the movie 4 Weddings and a Funeral? Yeah. Well, they were given the choice of 3 different songs to make a central part of 4 Weddings and a Funeral.
Okay.
And I think one of them, I can't remember the other 2 off the top. I don't want to work that hard right now, and dead air is bad on the radio or on a podcast. So anyway, they picked Love Is All Around. And I don't really like their version that much, but it became another monstrous hit. This song has been a hit like 5 different times. So anyway, it was number 1 in England for 15 consecutive weeks.
Wow.
The all-time record until I guess it was broken by somebody else after that.
Spice Girls or something.
You can fact check that one. So anyway, and to the point where people were like going to radio stations with signs, stop playing the song, and the band actually requested that they stop playing the song. And that's how big a hit it was.
I thought you were going to say like Chumbawamba. Remember that song?
Yes, I do. Yes.
I mean, that's embarrassing to still listen to that. I don't listen to that still.
I agree with that.
I heard
so maybe
when you pulled up.
Maybe I should have. But these were songs I actually liked that maybe I didn't want to go totally down the road of something that is like, number 1 is Fantasy Girl by 38 Special.
Oh, 38 Special is great. I saw 38 Special.
Well, I saw him a couple times. I've seen him a couple times too.
Isn't the lead singer is like 6 foot?
It's Donnie Barnes.
Gigantic,
and we went back. We got backstage passes at John Knox Village because we talked about they were going to play at John Knox. Yeah, they played at John Knox Village.
So you just
probably about 10 years.
All you had to do was walk out your front door, and you were there.
Thank you very much. And actually, I saw this. We can wrap on this one before everybody just flees for the exits. When I made my cancer trip in 2015, that's the basis for Leaving Cancer for the Circus, another shameless plug, my book. Later that year, I did sort of a version of it in 2015, later 2015 when I went to Cincinnati. And then later in the year, I did another road trip to see 38 Special at the Southeast Missouri Fair. What was funny, and that was in Cape Girardeau.
It's a county fair.
District fair. Southeast Missouri. It was a district fair, so it was a little bigger than a county.
Multiple counties.
Multiple, I guess, or district. I don't know. I don't know what it is, but it was in Cape Girardeau.
You have such a look of disdain on your face for the word district when you say, I don't know.
Well, it was bigger than a county fair, but I was embracing all the things that I wanted to do in these little towns on the trip.
Yeah.
It was the first, and I said, I'm going to have a corn dog.
Oh.
I'd never had a corn dog.
What?
I had never had a corn dog. No. Oh. We didn't have county fairs. Where I grew up in the East, you didn't even know what county. You knew what town you lived in, but you didn't know what county you were in.
Speaking of county fair, there's a great song by Chris Ledoux called "County Fair." You should check out on the way.
Is that a guilty pleasure? Is that an embarrassing county fair?
No, I'll stand proudly and say I like me some Chris Ledoux.
Maybe you should come up with a top 10 list of guilty pleasure songs for our next, or at least maybe a 5.
Oh, I could get you 50 off the top of my head. I love some terrible music, man.
I think that sounds like a plan.
All right.
But for those who want to check out my list, it's at DannyKlinkscale.com on the blog page, where you can find all kinds of wonderful stuff. Most of my blogs, actually, the podcasts are kind of structured, and except for this one. But the blogs are usually kind of offbeat and different about things.
I would describe this podcast as a plastic grocery bag blowing through the wind in the street.
I think it would be more like an overloaded grocery bag where you look inside and you don't know who did the shopping. Like now when you get them to shop for you.
You got a little 38 Special in there.
You get a little Feist. Little Moses coming down from the mountain. All right. I think that's enough, don't you?
I do.
Let's toast. All right. Talk to you next time.
This podcast was made possible by our great sponsors. We hope you enjoyed the latest Danny Klinkscale Reasonably Irreverent podcast. Come back soon for something fresh and new.